All right, and we should be live. Welcome to the BrainDrive Weekly Development Update live stream. Our mission here at BrainDrive is to build a superior user-owned AI system, a superior user-owned a user-owned AI system that's superior to big tech's AI systems. It's been a holiday here. I'm Dave Waring, and I handle the operations side here at BrainDrive.
And I'm Dave Jones, and I handle the tech side of the operations at BrainDrive.
So we do these calls every Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern time, and I'll just kick it off with a quick overview of how we plan to build that superior user-owned AI system. This is BrainDrive. It's our user-owned AI system that is MIT licensed open source. It runs completely locally on your computer, so everything you're seeing here could be running offline. We won't do that right now because it'll end the live stream. But as you can see, we have a very similar experience to a ChatGPT type experience, but with a huge difference is you own and control everything that you see on the screen here. Dave has made this into a modular plugin based architecture where you can build and deploy your own plugins on any GitHub. So there's no big tech app store that you have to worry about. You can just build your plugin, make the front end whatever you want it to be. You don't have to worry about the back end, and you have one click life cycle, full life cycle, update, delete, everything here. We have a page builder that allows you to build custom interfaces for different use cases. So, as an example, this is just my local AI chat. We have a plugin called Y Finder that helps you find your purpose in life, that walks you through that. And we have even things like games. So, really anything you want to do from an AI powered workflow standpoint and not having to figure out where you saved all that stuff, being able to have these custom interfaces and powered by these local AI models. But if you want to have your cake and eat it too, you can also use any API-based model via our Open Router plugin, or even build your own plugin to run whatever models you want. So we're in the early stages of this, but we believe we have a really solid foundation. You can learn more about what we're doing over at our doc site at docs.braindrive.ai, and also at our community at community.braindrive.ai, where we participate in all discussions and encourage all participations. Like I said, we do these calls every Monday at 10 a.m. So we encourage Eastern time. So we encourage live participation. And then I post these recordings on our forums over here on the community once we're done. And with that, I'll kick it over to Dave to update us on development progress from last week.
Okay, when we were closing out the last part of last year, one of our or two of our focuses were we wanted to take the foundation that we've been working on for a year and really tighten it up. And we had certain things that we wanted to see. First of all, would be in the installers. And since I was going to be installing RAG a billion times, that was a perfect time for me to get reacquainted with our Windows installer, since we were working on that RAG first. And if I find a glitch, I was fixing it so that nobody else will have to encounter them. And in the end, like I thought I would get to, and I'd want it to happen, ended up with the installer gaining a little bit of maturity. I did find a few issues, got them cleaned up, and in the end, I was able to be at a point where I could guaranteed download it and start the install process. It worked perfectly every time for me, which is absolutely ideal given our client our focus right now is people that are less tech savvy than myself, and that's where we get to the second part, RAG. For anybody, you can't get into AI without them saying, hey, I want to chat with my documents. You want more than a joke. That
Privately and securely on
Yeah,
your own computer, big deal, right?
exactly, because right now RAG is pretty much constrained to either a system that requires a PhD to install, or B, OpenAI, Claude, Gemini, those kind of infrastructures where you're paying a fee, they have access to all your data, because that is more valuable than the $20 a month for them. If they get a hold of your data, I guarantee you, whatever conversation you had, good or bad, will end up in a data set later on, and they will start training the next version.
Right.
And
And
this,
even if it doesn't, you're locked into their platform. The more your data is there, the more memory they have of you, the more useful
yep,
it's going to be, which on the one hand will be great, but that also is locking you in.
Exactly. And a good example of this was at the end of the year, ChatGPT. Not only does it give you a daily if you have the pulse, you get to see the next day it starts looking at your chats and going, "Hey, I want to help you here, I want to help you there." But that also means it learned it. And then if you want to see this information blossom into either a nuclear bomb or a bed of roses, that is the end of the year when it says, "Hey, would you like to know how your year was?" And it goes through your entire year of things it learned about you, basically. And that's a scary moment when you realize that this company has all that information. And if you by accidentally put your social security number, your birth date, you could be walking into a mess on that one. So privacy, be securely in your own environment to talk about freely whatever you want without any fear of it milking over into something else, is our priority right there. So with
Completely
that,
offline with
yep,
completely local models running completely on your own computer. You don't even need an internet connection if you don't want to search your
correct. Right
documents
now
and
you
use
need it
AI
for
on
to
them.
install.
Yeah, right, to install.
However, eventually I'd like to see it where you could just put it on a USB stick, walk over to your cabin, which doesn't have internet, has never had internet, plug it into your, whatever computer you have there for your own little research, and all of a sudden you have AI models available to you. You have the ability to have a chat with you and never worry about, oh my God, I have to be connected to something. It'll just simply work just the same. So with that, let's go ahead and look at RAG. And part of my constraint, I can't see you. Can you still listen? Oh, I haven't shared the screen. That's the problem. Um, well, I always like it making that mistake because I do it without thinking. There we go. And now let's share this screen. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is find my installer. There you go. Now this is the current version that is up. It is, let's see, 1.0.4. I have worked through quite a few little bugs that I had found, and that's what I was looking for is the opportunity to really play with the tools that I've been heads down programming. And for the first time, I got to use and use and use, and it was like I find a bunch of little glitches that were there, and I was like, "Oh, this is stupid. If Dave finds these, he's going to kill me."
Uh,
Those kind of things. But now it's very seamless. Just press install. It starts. This is the slower of my little AI computers that I have, and it takes this process about 7 minutes to install on this one. On my faster one, it takes 5 minutes to install, and I haven't been able to find anything that runs faster than that. But we will be using a Mac soon, so I wonder how fast because the Mac is zippy. Even though I
well,
have a little.
my Mac via the terminal installs well, but I guess I'm not adding all the dependencies and checking all that and everything. But even with all the dependencies and everything, my Mac, it's like a couple minutes, you
Yeah,
know?
well, exactly. That's you. The install on the Mac, which is basically for everybody goes through the terminal, is the same process this does. This just gets you out of the way. So that's what I was saying. The Macs have just seemed to be a little more zippier, and I use a mini Mac, not yours. So it's like I can only imagine yours could probably be easily like 2 to 3 minutes
Yeah.
and in and out.
That's and it starts back up in like, I mean,
Yep.
as fast as I can run the commands, basically.
Well, and that is part of why we have felt that you can't just go Windows anymore because you're really losing half your audience because Macs have become such a key component to the AI movement because it's easier for X amount of dollars. You can run higher level models than you could if you went on the Windows NVIDIA path.
It's
So
also just easier to purchase, because it's like unified memory and you can just sort of look at it and be like, I kind of get that like this number's bigger than this number,
yeah, yeah.
on the memory side where, when I look at Windows, it's like, oh, this GPU and that and with the RAM, it's like it's just a more complicated purchasing decision. Although, it's also clear that if you're willing to go through that complication, you have a lot more flexibility and you can save a lot of money.
Yeah, if you know what you want to accomplish, you could probably save quite a bit of money actually. But it's like you have to know that break point. It's like you know what models you want to do, you want to play with. Suddenly you're at an 8B model. And then you realize you play once with a 14B model and you're like, oh my God, this is so much better. And heaven forbid if you hit like a 24 and like the minstrel ones, because then you're like, I need to pay $1,000 for or a graphics card now.
Right.
Where, like, if you go to the Mac route, you've probably been doing that from the word go.
All right, there something just happened. 3 of 7. All right, and it's
Yep, three
got the
or it's 5 of 7 now. This doing
five
the
of
back
seven.
end. If this is probably the longest chunk of time because there are a lot that goes into the back end and the front end. Just like almost like when you start any of these projects up the first time, that initial build where it builds the cache up and all like that, it does take it a little bit longer. Then
Yep.
it gets
And
a
this
little
is a
smoother.
one-time thing. You can do
Yep.
it via the terminal on the doc site at docs.braindrive.ai, but we want to have, as easy as the terminal is for anyone who does any coding, for
Yep.
anyone who doesn't do any coding, like I'd never looked at a terminal, until I started messing with local AI systems. And it's scary because it's just not an experience that you're used to.
It's
So
raw. And
yeah,
that's the best way I describe that to people. The terminal is raw. This is, but I love my little installer right now because it's like I click install and I walk away.
yeah.
It's that I got 100% confidence in now that it's going to do what it needs to do. For anybody, if you have issues, I'll get back going to here.
Okay,
Log
so I
file.
would say, just real quick before you move off of that
Yep.
screen,
Yep.
if we could just, keep this window open, something like this will take, does it say this already? No, it should say somewhere, I think probably where it says keep this window open,
Yep.
it should say, this will take several minutes,
Okay. Yep.
progress will update below or something like that, just so people have a sense of like, this is, it's going to take a few minutes to install.
Just
But other
loading
than
pen.
that, I think this looks pretty good, you know.
I was
Um,
just like a month ago. We were like we were poised with a path or a fork in the road. We were like, hey, I want to work on the installer. I have some ideas to modernize it. And Dave was like, just make it look modernized because that's a faster path. And
yeah.
that's what we've done though. We kind of but it's like part of me just still wants to play, but I have to push that. We have too many
Yeah,
things.
we're gonna do
Yeah.
all that. It's
Yeah.
just, I want to make sure that basically I want to get everything, or I think we want
Yep.
to get everything that we have currently, which is our foundation, usable, right? And
Yep.
working. And then we're gonna go back and say, okay, this is working, but we can take this install from 7 minutes to 3 minutes, or
Yeah.
or we can make it look a little more modern or whatever. And we're going to do that. And, I think we're going to try and be very disciplined about making sure that we're coming back to the same
Yep.
foundational pieces over and over again to improve those versus getting shiny object syndrome and trying to build a million different things. But at the same time, hopefully getting those million different things from the community because we have a modular plugin based architecture. So we want people to build on top of this. And we really want our thing to be the foundation that allows you to get started and then start building on top of it.
Oh, no doubt. It was like, and plus, this is going to get even better. Just the more eyes that get on it at where we are right now, and people start playing it, and we'll either A, gain confidence in where it's at to look forward, or B, we'll get a couple of issues and we'll be able to clean them up and then get more confident in what we
Yeah.
have. So no matter what, it's just win-win. And getting RAG working is, hey, that was always a win. There's no way to really go different on that one. And this just takes it's a little hair above 7 minutes.
Okay. And yeah, I mean, I think that that's fine, especially because you don't have to do anything, right?
Oh, correct. This just works. Like I said, I can hit the install button, and I wander off. Usually,
And
like
and
'cause
that's
that's
a
all I
big
was doing.
deal for someone who wants, I think also we have a little bit of grace here because there's a lot of people, I think there's people that are willing to jump. They really want the local AI
Yep,
system, but they just with the terminal and everything, it's just too much. So asking them to sit for, click a button and sit for 7 minutes and drink a cup of coffee or go work on something else.
yep.
I guess one question would be if you start working on something else on the computer? Is that going to mess things
Nope.
up? Should you
It's
just
just
let
going to
it
work. It
sit?
works in the background the whole way anyways. It just every process gets shoved in the background. It's running. That way the UI can stay up and running and move. Yeah, now depending if you start watching or doing something very intensive, you will slow it down, but you will
Right,
not hurt it or stop it.
right.
And that's with any type of system. OpenAI, not OpenAI, but like if you just try to install Office and you went to do something else that was like really centric on the hard drive, you'd notice that your install process went from X amount of minutes to a little bit longer. And this is about the same thing. And then the fun part is, last night I did a test install just because, hey, I always like to walk through things. And it was like, I had my IDE up, which occupies the same ports. And I was like, all of a sudden, I was like, oh my God, this ain't working. And it's Sunday night.
All right,
But
here we go.
yep, now we can go right into it. It's just very simple as once it goes there, I press start. It will pop up a browser right over here. I'll move it over. As I said, this does take just a little bit longer on the first time around. And that's because that front end has to be cached up. Also on the back end, it's building the database that first time up and getting it in sync with everything. And that just takes a hair longer. It
Do
really
you
is
think
that.
there's things that we can do to speed this up in the future or?
Yes, because I do as like part of our process down the road has always been when we kind of make mess around with plugins, redo the plugin system a little bit, and mature it and modernize it. Part of that is going to be when it starts grabbing certain plugins. Right now, it's preemptive, but it really doesn't need to be. And in my opinion, I'm probably going to shovel that back onto when the user registers. Then it'll say, okay, this user gets XYZ plugins, and we're going to take care of it in that moment. So
Got it.
it'll get a little faster. Where are you? It's probably going to start that one. See, now this is, I'm going to be blunt. I had this bug before the weekend and I seen it once, or else it's just having a little problem. Let me check the logs real quick. Oh, let's go. Here we go. Because it'll show it's running. Yep. Okay. So all I'm going to do is stop this right now. And I haven't figured out really, this is the one outstanding thing I did find, like, but it went away. When I updated to 104, everything worked smooth. And I thought it, but now I just had to press start again. Usually it pops right back up. Um, but it's like that first time when it presses, I wonder if I have a timeout issue that I have a timer in there waiting for it to time out. It just takes a little bit longer, too long, and it times out and doesn't come back. So just stopping it and then starting back up, boom. And let's see, where are you? There we go. Now we will bring this over. Yeah, so I'm going to
That
go.
just
That's it.
popped up on another screen because you
Yep.
have
Yeah,
multiple.
exactly. Yeah, it just
Right.
popped up over here. Yeah, if nobody's ever watched, I have three monitors going here. So Dave's over here where I can see him. This one is
And you need
usually
to keep this window, you need to keep the installer window up, right?
yes, it works right now. It works as a manager. This is one of those things that, as we've talked about, in the future, we want to move it down to the sys tray so that it'll just like almost OpenAI, a Llama,
Yeah.
Claude,
So
probably
I would
even.
just, again, I would just say leave this
Yep.
window open. You can minimize this window, but leave it open,
Yep.
or something like that. Or if when you close it, your brain drive will close or something along those lines.
Yes. And because I've been using it, I probably haven't started it, restarted anything like that. It's having to time out on the cookie right now. But if you had never installed this before, you wouldn't even see the screen.
It would be faster.
Yeah. There we go.
All right. And you have a registration screen here, but all of this is stored locally on your computer. And we have this so that if you want to have multiple users on your brain drive, you can, right? And
Yep.
they can have different permissions and all those types of things.
Yes. Eventually, like in the installer, we'd like
So
to see in the
at this point, you could not be connected to the internet, right? I mean,
correct.
you still have to download your models and stuff, and when you
Yep.
do that, you'll have to connect to the internet. But like to register and if you're
Yeah.
paranoid about information being sent to brain drive, et cetera, you could just disconnect to the internet right now.
Correct. Yeah. This is mainly because we knew where we wanted to go and we knew where we wanted to be, which is the local part. So this is in the middle of the road. We're handling user registrations and stuff like that, but eventually there will be, if you're just isolated, you feel safe, there will be a no sign up button. So
Yep.
it'll just handle it for you, and automatically when BrainDrive comes up, you will just simply always see this screen right here that you're
Well,
going
we
to run it.
wanted to go to the AI chat
Eh,
though, to default,
yeah,
right?
yeah, I need to check in where I have that because for some reason it should have set up to there on the install, but I will make a note of that and I'll take a look at why. Because I thought I had that set up. It could have just simply I've been
Minor thing. Just
yeah.
it's good. It's working. Hey, it's
Yep.
working. That's what at this phase, where we're pre, V1, what we want is for it to work,
Yep.
and then we will improve everything. But what like it taking it from you can't install BrainDrive without going to the terminal to now you can is a big deal, at least on Windows.
Yep.
Windows 11.
And almost to stress the point, it's already set up where if you wish to change that right now on your own, you simply come here to settings, you go to default, what default page you have, select it as AI chat, and from that point forward, it'll automatically have it. We have set this up so that it's like everything's exposed to the user so that they can make it whatever they want to be, however they want it to be. You can come up with if you had more pages here, you would see the list be longer and you could assign whatever you wanted to be basically your home page
Nice.
of sorts. But now we will continue because the end of the day, we'd love to see RAG installed. And one of the things for me doing it on a weekend and being in terminals, great. I'm used to it. Anybody else on planet Earth, that's a nightmare scenario. And it usually ends with people not being able to accomplish it. So the goal was very seriously that link, and you should be able to end up with with an entire RAG system ready to go. So
And
that
what
was
is a RAG system?
RAG system was where you give a system, being RAG, a document. It will chunk it up into little pieces. It will figure out the meaning of those pieces and then put it into what's called a vector database. And the vector database is what is inherently basically for a very dumbed down version. It allows it to determine when you're searching for A, how close does the data it have is to A. And based on how close it is, it will be determined what it gives back. So if I put in a search and I have a BrainDrive document and I just say, hey, what is BrainDrive? And you'll see we'll go through this. It will probably turn back most of the chunks that we have because it's a BrainDrive document. But let's say this document was a recipe. And I said, what is BrainDrive? It will hand no chunks back out. And that's what a vector database does at a scope level.
Got it. Okay. And I thought that this was going to be entering into a long install process because there's a lot of different things to install here, but it
No,
says
this is where it
install.
go. Where this is where our installer has improved. The front end piece is very quick as anybody's seen, but we shovel that way we can move away from the screen if we want. We have now shoveled the long process task over to
Okay.
a jobs that we have,
This
job
is
search.
great. Again,
Yep,
we're working is all we're looking for, but
yep,
since we have some time here, because this is a lot to install here because you
yep,
need a vector database, you need several things. What
yep.
are the things that are installing right now?
It is broken down into two key services. The first one that you see up here installing document chat, that is the system that gets talked to. When you say, hey, what is BrainDrive? The first thing it's going to message is the document chat service, and it's going to say, hey, I have a user asking this question. Do we have any information in our database that resembles that kind of question? Or you hand it a document and the document, and when it gets to handed a document, it says, okay, I don't know what to do with this, but I have another service running over here, and it's called document processing. And it will handle the handoff going into that, and it'll say, hey, we got this document. I want to use it. Take care of it for me.
Right. And there's all these different formats. PDF is a common one.
Yep,
We got to get that text and tables and all that
yep.
out of the PDF and into the database so that the AI can work with it.
And the document processing basically takes whatever you gave it breaks it down into a markdown format, a universal format for the AIs, and then starts chunking it and handing it back and says, hey, this is the markdown document. This is the chunk. This is what it means. This is the category it belongs to. And you have a nice day with it. It won't care after that. And then the document chat service says, okay, I have this. I'm going to store it here in my vector database so I can look back at it later on. And as long as, this is very important, as long as the embedding model stays the same, it will never need to go back to that well again. But if you change the embedding model, you do have to rechunk everything so that it can figure out what the numbers are.
All right, well, that's
That's the
probably a
advanced stuff.
longer
Yeah.
discussion, but basically this is chat with documents, and this is where you really, step one is install BrainDrive. That means you own your AI
Yep.
system, and step two is start personalizing it and making it your own. And instead of
Correct.
being locked into a big tech AI system where there's walls going to be thrown up all around you. We've seen that movie play out already with social media, who benefits from that. And it's not us, it's not the individual. This is, you're locking yourself into your own AI system where you have the key.
Yep.
So that this is a big deal. Along with the plugins, along with, being able to create your own interfaces with pages, being able to use other people's plugins, being able to use other people's pages eventually, etc. This is where we really start to, benefit from that owning of your AI system. Now, um, just notes as we're waiting for this to
Yep.
install. I was under the assumption, I was like, oh, did that just install? Okay, so when you go back to the plugin manager, I don't know if there's like how we should handle this. I'm just
There
throwing
will
out
be
stuff.
no yeah, there in the plugin manager when it's broken down like this, the plugin will need a means to talk back to the front end and say, "Hey, user, I've installed the front end pieces of this. However, I did assign two jobs to the background task manager, and if you want to check when they're done, you can."
Right. And I think we need to make that as simple as possible. Like
Yep.
maybe it's like there's three things that show up and it's like front end
Yep.
installed, services, and they're yellow. Like the install is green. And then, I'm not exactly sure how that should work, but again, right now, just getting this working is a big deal. The other thing
Yeah,
is this thing's been sitting at 0% the whole time we've been talking.
no,
What's
no, because there is no back and forth when there actually the 0% is the progress of the entire thing. When it gets done with this install, it takes about 9 minutes. Um, it will jump to 50% because there's only two processes. There is nothing was ever done at the point in time, and I wonder how much it's worth it or not worth it. Maybe just education is the best way to handle it. It is simply how do we tell the user what the actual real
right? Because
progress
I'm
is?
thinking right now this is frozen.
Yep, nope. This is
Yeah.
I have been able to walk away from this. My little notebook that I keep track when it installs. If anybody can see, I keep track of when I was starting, so I can time it every time, so I can get consistency that I know what I'm expecting to see.
Right.
Uh,
And the other thing I would say is again, we're just shooting the shit right
yep.
now while this is installing, but if it is right now this is telling me this is making no progress. And I
Mhm.
know I know from talking with you, the
Yep.
developer, that it is actually making progress, right? So this is a bad, right? It's
Yep.
like what I'm seeing, right? It's making progress, right?
Yes.
So I don't know, but that's almost like an opposite signal. What's happening right now is it's telling me it's not
Oh,
making any progress when it
I'm going to go to
actually is
use.
making progress.
Yep. And this will be a good point. If at all you think, now, of course, nobody will remember this, but I'm going to go into BrainDrive. I'm going to go into the back end. I'm going to go into the services runtime. Back behind the scenes, this is where everything exists at. We do keep a log right here. And it's basically, and it's what you're going to see is it's not frozen, but rather when it gets to anybody who's installed on terminals, when it gets here, this is when it takes a while. This is just
It's
going to,
fine. To me,
yeah,
because this is such a powerful feature. It's fine that it takes a long time to
yep,
download, especially I only have to do it once,
yeah,
so, and I also think, again, we have some grace because people like you're running this on your computer, so it has to install. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that's just part of the game. So it's not that I think this is actually frozen because I
But there's
believe
no way
you.
to
I don't
know
think you're
different.
lying. I don't think you're lying to us here. You know what I mean? I believe that there's progress, but not only is there no indicator, but the indicator that's there is telling me the wrong
Yep.
thing. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yes.
So
Yes.
it would I'm not sure how you fix that, but we need to.
Oh yeah, yep. And
Um,
this is part of where, like for the plugin manager, I know we have some more maturity as we see different plugins developed and that expose different weaknesses, such as like the information passing back to the user and saying, "Hey, I'm in progress of doing this still. Don't worry about it. I got this. We'll get back to you," type thing. But yeah, some type of notification system.
well,
You're
it
going to
would be
say,
cool if what would be cool here is if the progress was showing the progress,
"Yeah,
right? Like, so I think right now it sounds like it's set to there's two things that need to install here. When
yep."
the first one installs, it goes to 50%. But if there's a way to have it like as the first one's installing,
Yeah,
you
we'll
know,
have to get closer to like what the actual BrainDrive installer does. I break down the installer process into minor pieces and it communicates back. And that's, like I said, the communication between the front end and the installing service needs to be improved.
okay. Cool. Um, all right.
And right
So
now this is the only thing that does it this long. So but we'll get there as far as more things doing it.
again,
Also, yeah,
as long as we can get it working for now, like all these things, again, I think going from not having this to having this,
yeah.
but with some UX
Hmm.
improvements that need to be made, to me is a big deal.
Yep. And that's my goal is focusing on, hey, turning some lemons into lemonade.
There you go. Um, all right. So let's, since this is gonna be a few more
Yep.
minutes. What are your ideas? What does this not have now that you already know? Like, we want to do this.
As in the whole, okay, just so you know, it did move. But
Okay, there we
anyways,
go.
yep. The whole, as in the RAG system or brain drive.
The RAG system.
The RAG system. I'd love to improve just that communication level between the two. Because right now it's to say it's loosely coupled it's almost a bad way to put it. There's almost like, how can I get a plugin to determine I have a RAG system available and I want to use it? Because right now we only have one plugin system. But for me, the more I've played with this, and I'll go into when you see it in the demo, the things that are going to be possible with this RAG system will probably outplay any other open source system that's available. And I've watched them because I read the comments on Reddit of each of the little systems that other people have. They're running with it, and that is probably the dead dog that everybody's pulling is because of the fact you say, hey, I can't get the RAG system to do XYZ. I can't get it to do this. I want to do this, but you don't do it. This is going to be that system. And it's like, hey, you have RAG. You're going to see how fast it works. It works pretty fast for even on my smallest machine, but also what you can start to do it. And that'll be covered in the demo as well. So that little communication that it says, hey, you have RAG, the ability to pull an interface from the RAG, like the document management thing, being able to manage your documents external of AI chat, so that you could build a collection as large as you want, as small as you want, and then other systems can utilize it. That's going to be probably that key thing of
Right. So
what's
right now it's built so you're going to have a page, and we'll go through all this,
yep,
but just from my understanding, you're going to have a page, and that's where your RAG system is going to be, and you're kind of limited to that page, right? But that's
correct.
still a big deal because you can chat with all your documents there. You
Yep.
can still have collections and all that. Yes or no?
Yes. No, you can. You
Okay.
still have
Out
collections.
of the
You still,
gate.
yep, out of the gate.
Okay. And you can choose different models. So if you
Yep.
want to use API-based models when you care less about privacy, you can do that. If you only want to use local models, you can do that. You can use personas on top of that, which is our custom system prompts. You can
That'll be
select
demonstrated in
different
the demo. I
personas.
already have a persona ready to go to clearly
Right.
demonstrates what happens when you have personas.
Okay. But what you're saying is, let's say I build a plugin Y-Finder, right?
Yep.
It's great. It's a plugin. It's a chat experience that helps you find your purpose in life. And I have collections that are like, here's all my conversations with Dave,
Yep.
right? And I say, how can I, convey to Dave better? I had a conversation with Dave about my why, and I don't think he really got it, right? How can
Yep.
I, here's my why finder, like, here's my, documents related, like, here's our conversations,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And how can I better communicate to Dave? Right now, you'd have to go to the RAG chat page
Yep.
and do all that. But what you're saying is you want to make it so the Y-Finder plugin can just pull that collection in and you can talk with it and blah blah blah.
Yep. And it'll start if you say, "Hey, I'm talking to Dave about RAG," it'll pull all my RAG conversations and what I was saying like that and pull it into your context and then apply it to whatever your original prompt was to get you the more educated response rather than a make believe.
And
Allison.
this is plugins within plugins too,
Yep,
right?
it's true. This is when we get closer to plugins and within
So
plugins.
this is always something you've been thinking about. It's just, getting the foundation in place.
Now that I see both pieces come up in the air, it's like now I'm going, this is how we apply it. Another example I was thinking of, or my wife came up with the idea, I give her credit, a recipe manager. The ability to, if you had your recipe sitting in a rag, the ability to have a conversation and hit a recipe or by ingredients or by what you wanted to eat or something like that. And for it to go, hey, you've cooked this, you've cooked this, you've cooked this, and let me try to twist this up for you. And why not this?
But
And
you can
those
do that with the collections too, though, right? Like what you already have
true,
now.
true. But a recipe, but I'll show you. It was like when you start seeing the persona, and then you start looking at what you do when you can take RAG to the next level with custom plugins, it gets ridiculous. Of
Okay, cool.
what I'm starting to see in the future. That's why it's like I'm like these things, these tools, these services need to be exposable. Because then we get to the third one. Like I'm already looking at a plugin service, which is basically using YouTube transcripts, being able to grab them and utilize them, and you can only do it certain ways. That's where a service comes into being. Now I want to be able to take that, go do it, go get them summarize a YouTube video for me, take the information, put it into my RAG automatically on the fly, and that's what happens when you start combining these puzzle pieces together.
Right. The composability of
Yep.
that. How big of a project is it to make this plugin within plugin situation?
I
Pretty big.
no, okay. I don't want to say pretty big. I have, I just need to get the pieces in place, like the ones that as we're building plugins in place. So I don't have to worry about, I get all the examples of what we're seeing and I can make it tie into there and work. Like a good example, the RAG thing. The RAG is almost, it's like built-in example of being able, the AI chat have to have a way to say, I have RAG available. This is a service that I can use. Or what is OpenAI calls it a certain, connection. OpenAI, I have a connection available to me. It should be able to determine this automatically and then look at it without knowing what RAG is. Say, okay, you're available to me. I'm going to use you. When the user selects it from the menu that I want to use RAG, it reaches out to the RAG plugin and says, hey, I need to borrow your collection manager and show it to the user in AI chat. And that's when we hit a perfect world of the fact of plugin A had no knowledge of plugin B, but was able to utilize it on the fly without plugin A ever doing anything special or hard coding anything for that matter, just by using what would be like a manager of that information, which would be the BrainDrive core.
That sounds like a complicated thing.
Exactly. I've been chewing on it for a while now. I've probably in my head found 5 bad ways to code it and trying to work out as I do more, I'm pretty confident this not only can be done, but this is going to be insane.
Oh, it'll be
Eh,
insane. All right, there we go. All right,
Yep.
just one thing before we move off this page.
Okay.
I think just if you can just make that bar for now,
Yep.
just going up like just flashing up, like going back and how what, but it's just there's nothing and then it goes to 50%.
Oh yeah,
While
yeah,
it's going to 50%, just
yep,
have it go to 50% and back. You know what
yep.
I mean? I think that that would be an improvement. And then
Some kind of
same,
movement to say it's working.
once it's at 50%, then it starts to go to
Yep.
100% and back. You know what I mean? I think that would be
Very simple way of addressing the no movement.
for now. Yeah.
Yep. Okay,
Uh,
so now, go ahead. Another one before I move?
That's it.
Okay. So now when we install the plugin, we do get a new settings panel that we can see. I simply like to come here and check to make sure that both are running.
And what is this? The document chat service
Yep.
is the database and everything.
Yes, this is the database. It's the one that that BrainDrive communicates with and says,
Embedding model, all
yep,
that.
yep.
And if you drop these down, what's below them?
See, if I drop this down right now, it's using all default data, which like I already have a lot when your BrainDrive installs, it uses localhost automatically. And if you have a Llama installed, which I do, and if you're ever curious, you just go to here. We already have this installed. I can go to your service settings. Here's all the information, test my connection, and I know that's working now.
Right.
Okay. The models that I have open for this one, um, these are all, not minus that one. These are the models that are utilized within RAG. So they're required for RAG to work based on defaults. Now you're free to change them. I'm not going to have anything to do with this. I have not tested the code. However, I do have it coded where it'll auto download these three models right here for you. If they're missing, it'll check. Mine aren't missing, so it never even blinked on them. But I haven't also tested that one yet. I'll be honest. That was coding blindly on when I did that.
All
We
right,
are,
sorry. So don't let me because I know you have a flow you wanted to show
yep.
here, so don't let me
Yeah.
interrupt you.
We are using this embedding model, slightly smaller. However, it is a better model to use for embeddings and larger for the context. So this is going to allow us to pull in a much larger context for each chunk so that we can get better overlap between the other chunks and more concise information. So that was the goal, right? That why we had to make the change after I discovered that Olama. To talk about my issue, if you ever encounter, if you have two Olama servers, one's old, one's new, the old one, it works, and then you go to the new one and it doesn't work. So you have to figure out what's wrong. The problem is Olama fixed the bug they had. That's what it came down to. So my solution was very quickly. I just updated the embedding model to something better, and it worked seamlessly. I didn't have to get too crazy beyond that. Just clean up some issues that were along there. So now we get back to here. Um, Basically, this is where the server exists. I probably have to do a few little cleanups and let it explode in my face, but conceivably, I'd like to see the port changes here go through the entire system. I haven't checked it out yet. I do know that changing the IP does work because I've already tested that a few times. But I just need to go through. There's a million things that can go wrong, and I've only spent 1 week on really fine tuning those million things. But overall, if you leave it as is, as most people will, everything works out of the box, and that was the goal right there. So now we are going to wander over through our AI chat. And one of the key things here, we have a menu which serves our connection and RAG will stay lit up. If you did not have RAG installed, it takes it about a few seconds to time out, but once it does time out, it will deactivate this. So it will no longer be available. The only way that's going to get faster, like I said, if we work on the communication level between services and the system, that's where that'll improve or it'll be a more immediate thing. But first thing I want to do is create a collection. I do my normal test of T1, create. Since we were talking about UI stuff, one of the things I might think about doing right there is go from create collection, as in where I put that information in, that it should not only auto check that I'm going to use this one, but also bring up the management section immediately. Because 9 times out of 10, if you create a collection, the first thing you're going to do is add documents to it. So I think that would be a more uh, using intuition and things of that nature. But now let's go ahead and upload a document, and we're going to use our very favorite white paper. This should take no time, probably less than a minute, I think, to
This is the
actually.
BrainDrive Vision white paper. It's
Yep,
like 11 pages of like basically the full how we plan to build a superior user-owned AI system.
yep. It's probably for lack of a better word, this has been used as an apple, so that all tests are apples to apples. And if I know I get a variance my answer, then I have something wrong. I've also used it to validate models against other models based on just eyeballing the response. Was that a good model? Did I not like that model or something like that? Once it's done, I just simply close it up. If I look here, I still have T1 selected. The only time that's not going to have, if I go off the screen or something like that, or I uncheck it, then that'll, because I would just go right here. Let's say I do not want any RAG. I just click note of that, and it's done. I am thinking about future proofing, and down here below, much like OpenAI, it'll have a little notice letting you know right off the bat what collection you are using. So it'll be very visual without you having to do a single thing. It'll just be part of the UI. But let's go with this. And what is BrainDrive? Our favorite little question. And this now, before it goes to the actual AI, what it does, it goes to the document chat service, and it says, "Hey, here's my prompt." It plays with that prompt, then queues the vector database. It says, "Hey, I need all the chunks back that relate to this," and it hands it back. Then it hands to the actual uh, interface here, and then it hands it to your AI right here, and it says, "Hey, here you go." And then this is the response that it gives you
That
back.
was fast.
Yeah, because we talked about before is that if I have less model jumping up, dropping it up and down, would it speed up thing? The answer is yes. If I keep to the models that are being used in the RAG, it just keeps the model up and it goes now.
So upload the document and it was parsed and that took like a minute or not
Yep,
even. And
not
that's
even.
11 pages.
Hmm.
Then you bring it up,
Yep.
ask a question, and it's pretty much just as fast as just asking a normal question. And now this answer is grounded in your private data.
Yes. Yeah, this conversation, you're having a conversation with the entire collection that you have there. So if you added 8 documents to the collection, you would be chatting with eight documents. And instead of trying to fill the entire context with all of them, it just takes the relevant chunks to the question that you have given.
Which is always important because you don't want to confuse the model, but especially with local models where you're usually running lower powered
Yep.
models, that's a big deal.
Yep. But the most important thing is we're local. We are not going on the internet at all for anything at this time. And we're able to have a serious conversation with a model and get actual responses back. And
So
you can play with,
once you install BrainDrive, install your plugins, install your models, you could turn off the internet and you could
yep,
never connect to the internet again. And you've got a completely private AI system running on your computer with your private data. And it's never, as long as no one has access to your computer, there's no way that they could get access to this if you're not connected to the internet.
yep. And it doesn't matter what updates in the outside world, what you have at that moment, if it works, there's no timeout, there's no license, there's no expiration date. If it worked now, when you're in a year from now, it doesn't matter what AI is doing. There could have been a law banning all AI development, and you will still be sitting there on
Which
your laptop.
they were going to, under Biden, try and
Yeah.
ban open source
That's why
stuff.
I was like
Yeah.
bringing that. It doesn't matter what happens. You can sit there with your laptop and go, I'm cheating.
Yeah.
Those kind of things. But now, not everybody has markdown documents ready to go. So we are going to create another collection. And on this one, we are going to put a PDF in there. Oh, oh, nope, nope. There we go. And this one is 26 pages. It does take it a bit longer to work on. It is just basically total meat for this thing to digest. There are tables in it. There not a bunch, not a, I don't think there are any images in there. It's just all text for it to deal with. So it's quite a bit at 26 pages. And for me, this was a test run of how does it handle larger pieces of information? How does it handle PDFs? Which is very important given the nature of PDFs and how hard it is to actually get the information out of them that you want to use. So it served multiple fronts right there. And then, of course, we are going to basically do the same thing. I won't call them pre-stocks because I reword the question so many different ways. But like the white paper, I already know what I'm asking. It's like, what is BrainDrive? With this one, I basically go into because it deals with business, enterprise level businesses trying to adopt AI projects and dealing with the failure points and the struggles of that. My wife, who generates content for a living, she uses it a lot for a reference. So this is like the source that a lot of people use in the C-suite level. So it's really good information.
So this
Uh,
is taking longer, not just because it's longer, but because it has a lot more tables and that type of stuff in it. Is that right?
yep. Yes.
And it's and the dot and there it goes. It's done.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So like I said, I got worked out a lot of the speed issues on Windows right now. It's like we should be pretty humming. I have not put this back on Ubuntu to play with, uh, but we're probably not far off based on the notes in my timetable. So let's see. Are we already attached to B2? And I'm going to go with that one. And it does the same thing. It's moving pretty quick now that it loaded up
Yeah,
all the models.
cool.
Yep. And it goes through and it basically gives the reverse where it's like um, the 5% which is basically the 95% chance of failure that the document goes into right off the bat. Uh, Now for the fun part of my testing, because when I've always been playing at this level, and I was like yesterday going, let's start bringing this system kind of all together. And that's where I was like, what would happen if I did a persona? And so my little persona is called RagWriter. Um, Rag stuff. Let's go to my little prompt. Now, this is just a very simple little prompt I did my goal was that I wanted to get away from, I'll call it the cookie cutter type LLM response. And I wanted every response back to me to be basically a small article format. So that as if I was just went to a web page and make me feel at home. Uh, and that is how easy it is to create a persona for anybody interested. I come back over here. I'm going to kill that one. Go to here, my rag writer. I'm going to make sure this is selected. And we are going to, where's that little question? Because I went with B2. There we go. And we recall what that looked like when we answer. And we'll do BrainDrive again because it's very interesting when it uses the persona and how it changes things up.
Oh, that's cool. So
A
this
big
time it's like it's using the chunks and the retrieval to write an article, basically. And can you
yes.
just go back to that persona for a minute, please?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
What was the system prompt?
The system prompt is,
You're a content writer and editor. Your task discusses users' requests. You'll be provided with a user question or topic. Go ahead. Scroll down.
yep. I need to make this where you can expand on its own.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yep.
Okay, so it's basically telling you what you want it to write. It's
Yep.
is this going to be used in production by anyone in your family?
Oh, no, no, actually, no.
Oh, I was
Um,
gonna say, I was wondering if, because I know you mentioned your
yeah,
wife is a writer, so
no, but I hear her talking of it. And it was like, I was like, for a persona, I do normally like, I'll be honest, game related or something like I'll do Rubik's Cube, Larry or whatever. And he'll always try to put in Rubik's Cube information into something because I can always tell that kind of bent on the response. If you're bringing up a Rubik's Cube, you brought in my system prompt and those like little tests. So I wanted to try something a little bit more realistic. And most people use these things for business and like that, but what you can do by just applying the system prompt to it, and you can get responses more tailored. And then this led my next train of thought, which I didn't code, but if you were actually to use this to develop a content management system, what would be needed to pull off? And this was, I'll call it the MVP, just minimal viable, what would happen? And then the more advanced version was you'd go with several prompts back and forth with the AI to do what Dave does or starts to do, because Dave has 19 steps in his. This one only had like five, but it starts going, hey, give me an outline. Let's do this. Okay, we have an outline. Now let's take each chunk. It's going to become a section of our article. And now let's write them individually, and it starts piecing it together. Then it goes back. Hey, I need an introduction and I need a conclusion to this. And let's put this together. And then it gives you that result back. But that's where you get closer to a CMS versus just having a conversation with a document. But,
Cool.
but this shows what you can do all together with the system when you start taking the different pieces. And this is where I got excited because, like I said, when you start having these pieces starting to communicate forwardly versus me having to adjust AI chat when it says, hey, oh, RAG's available, I'm going to use that.
Right.
And those kind of things, when it does the thinking for you, and it has, and we've been smart enough as developers and the people that are pushing this project forward to go, okay, let's code a little smarter now, so that we know that there's a question, there's the answer sitting there. We just have to be smart enough to ask the right question when we're doing it.
Okay, awesome. So this works right now on Ubuntu, or does it work on Mac and like what does this work on right now?
Okay, this initially worked on just Ubuntu. This works on Windows now. I have not been able to break it since Friday, and I've
Okay.
done probably 10, 20 installs. I have to go back and double check, does Ubuntu work now? Because as you go forward, you have to go back to
Yeah.
just to double check. But this works on Windows every day of the week. The installer it only works on Windows right now, and I want to now move into Mac land.
When you say installer, are you talking about the installer for RAG or
The
the
installer
brain
for
driving?
BrainDrive, because
Okay.
we did two different initiatives here, was
Yeah, no, I
maturing the
understand.
installer and getting RAG working.
Right, but I wonder, like, I guess you wouldn't necessarily have to have the Mac installer working to have
No,
RAG on Mac,
correct.
right?
Correct. But we had that discussion in the fact of I know for a fact this will blow up probably in my face when I do it on Mac.
Okay, right. So
Yeah.
might as well just knock out the installer at the same time.
That's what our thing was. We might as well get both done in the same time, because odds are if you're on a Mac, you would have used the installer, so you're gonna need it all working, smoothly. You don't want to drop to a terminal.
Got it. And okay, so this next steps are, it sounds like there's potentially still a bug with the Windows installer that we need to work out.
Yeah, I think as a timer, I do want to figure that by the end, if it's going to be one of those things, either A, you're going to have to hit it and find something that I'm doing I'm not seeing, so we just have more eyes on the issue, or B, I'll find where the time. I'm pretty sure it's a timer the way it's looking at, because this took a little longer to install than it has been by about 30 seconds. So I wonder if something's just timing out right there just long enough.
Okay, so making sure getting the Windows installer across the
Yep,
finish line,
yep,
just from a working standpoint. Um, this is working now on Windows. You need to go back and check if it still works on Ubuntu,
yep,
and then getting it working on Mac
yep,
along with the Mac installer. That sounds like our next steps. Is
yep,
that right?
exactly.
Okay. And do we think we'll be able to have that? When do we think we'll be able to have that?
Tentatively, I'm expecting probably 2 weeks on Mac. The first week being the installer and RAG at the same time, trying to hammer them out. And then within the first week, I want to be done with the installer, have that off on the Mac people with the notary, however long that takes while I finish up the RAG.
Got it. All right. Sounds good. So we're up on an hour. I have stuff, but it's nothing. It pales in comparison to getting foundational RAG stuff. So we'll leave that for now. As we talked about at the beginning of the call, our mission here at BrainDrive is to build a superior user-owned AI system to big tech's AI systems. We do these calls every Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern time, and we encourage you to join us here live and also over on the forums where we post the recordings at community.braindrive.ai. And we'll see you next week.
Have a good one.